Welcome, fellow travellers. I'm Wandering Mist, and I'm joining Chibi and Vertek at the Golden Feather. Come on in, grab a seat, and let's share tales of adventure.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Golden Feather. We're your hosts, Chibi and Vertek. Discuss Ashes of Creation and important topics spoken about within the Ashes community. Every week, we invite you, the viewer, and a special guest to pull up a chair, grab a pint, and join the conversation with us. Today is the 4th of August, 2023. We are on episode 174. We titled this Wandering Adventure, as our traveling bard today is Wandering Mist. How are you, friend?
Hello, I'm all right. How are you? It's good to be back. It's been a long time.
It has. Too long, if you ask me.
Yes, and we'll get back to that here in just a moment. For right now, we'll finish the introductions. This is Chibi next to me, looking lovely as ever. How are you?
Thank you. My hair is like never out of place. It's like magic or something, you know.
Always a good hair day at the Golden Feather. Just
Absolutely.
saying. Look at this luscious lock in front of my forehead.
And welcome to our lovely guest here at the Tavern. If you are new, we like to invite a random guest each week, be it somebody who we've had on before, such as a Wandering Mist, or somebody new within the Ashes of Creation community who is making content or is just a fan and just wants to pop up and talk about their experience and their thoughts. So if you're ever interested, please feel free to reach out to us. And with that out of the way, let's get to know our guest a little bit more. It's been a few years.
Yeah.
Also, thank you, Alexia.
It has.
Yes, thank you for the resubs, Alexia. And yeah, you know what? We didn't realize until just today, because every time we sit here and think about, okay, who can we try and get on? Who's new? There's nobody new to bring on. Like, okay, there's got to be somebody who's been around for a little while that we haven't had on. Not really. Not that would actually be willing to join a podcast. There's some people that just don't want to be on a live podcast, and that's fine.
Yep.
But okay, so we start cycling through old names, and your name came up a few times, but we're like, but we just had him on. We just had him on not long ago. Yeah, 2 years. 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Is not long ago, apparently.
Can I tell you a thing or two about ADHD?
Holy mackerel. Time blindness is a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Not in interviews, though.
It's all good. It's fine. We're here, and that's the important thing, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. So,
And
for those who may not have a clue, actually, TB, do you want to say something before we have Wandering Mist introduce himself?
actually, I have a couple of unique questions just for our guest this week because returning. Also, what can I go with? It does. It feels like it takes forever, but then you blink and it's like, whoa, our podcast has been around for how long? We've been waiting for Ashes for how long?
Oh,
True story.
I happened to look back at my old Discord messages back from like 2017.
Yeah. There's some people that aren't around anymore. It's like unknown user, and I was like, oh, that whoever that was, they're gone.
and
I had a whole list
unknown.
of those. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Never to be confused
unknown.
with the unknown.
Right.
The unknown, I think, is going to be around forever.
Yeah.
He'll never leave.
What was your question, Bertak?
I was just going to say, so for those who may, for some reason, not know, can you tell people a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and why you love Ashes so much, and you're going to get a custom cereal bowl made for it?
Oh, goodness, okay. So, I'm Wandering Mist. I've been following the game since 2017, and I've been a community moderator since, 2020, I think? Maybe a little bit after that. I can't remember at this point. But yeah, so I've been around tracking the development of the game for quite a few years now. And yeah, it's getting to the point where it's getting exciting. And we had the lull where things were just sort of trucking along quietly, not really much happening. And now it's with the recent live streams and the showcases, it's been picking up and things are getting really cool again. So yeah, getting exciting again.
Yeah. That's awesome. Sorry. I wasn't sure. It said welcome Nemesis, but the last thing I saw before that was Discord. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't think that's his Discord. Hi, Nemesis. Welcome in. You're confusing the bot and me all at the same time. It's amazing.
What an entry. What an entry.
Ooh. Okay. Quick question for the panel. This is a nice little icebreaker. Would you like to see an Ash's version of Baldur's Gate 3? And why do you think that's the best idea you've ever heard? I insert troll face.
Love it.
What do I say? I'll be honest, I don't know anything about Baldur's Gate 3, so I can't really comment. Sorry.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay,
Actually,
fair
this is my first time playing Baldur's Gate 3, and if you guys have a decision or a opinion on anything, I'd like to know what you'd like to see me stream on Sunday. Baldur's Gate 3 or Palea, because I have access to both. But I've never played Baldur's Gate until literally on Monday. So
you know what? I'm the same. I had not played it yet until just after Vladis and Stakano, two amazing peoples, decided to gift us copies.
Yes.
Well, gift us the money to buy them anyway, because we were talking about maybe
double gift?
buying it, but not. Yeah. They each gifted enough to buy them. So one of them ended up funding the emotes we've been wanting to pick up. So those should, in theory, finally be coming soon. And the other got the game for us. So I played the bejeebus out of some pre-release, so I could learn what it was all about and how to play it.
So yeah,
that's, even like I would love to see that.
So do you know what Baldur's Gate is for the game in general? Wondering.
I've heard of it.
Okay.
It's an RPG.
So Baldur's Gate is a main city within Dungeons and Dragons lore.
Right.
And so it's basically an RPG that takes place inside of Faerun in D&D's like world.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
So
okay, that's why.
Would you like to see? Would you like to see an Ashes of Creation version of Baldur's Gate 3 where it takes place in Vera? And why do you think that's the best idea you've ever heard?
You know what? I am all for like really good RPGs. I feel like we've been starved a little bit for really good, like well-crafted world RPGs recently. Like the ones that we've had over the past few years, mainly looking at you, Bethesda, have been quite bland to my mind. I often relate them to the phrase, an ocean that's as shallow as a pond.
Mm-hmm.
So like you got this big, like expansive worlds, but there's very little depth to them. And like you go into a cave, it's the same as every other cave, right?
Yeah.
You go into a town, it's the same as every other town. And there's hardly any like depth or complexity there. So having a well-crafted world, which you can really dive into and explore, is something that we need more of, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. And
go
ahead.
I was just going to say that, and what's great about Baldur's Gate is it really is the closest you're going to get to playing D&D in a video game. So I imagine, like it was said, who was it that just said it? Galwood just said Bavaria will be in Pathfinder. So it would be just a video game version of Pathfinder with actual deep story and meanings to your reactions with people and stuff like that.
But also,
I think it would be great.
Like, mermaids.
Yeah. But also,
that's up to anybody who gets that reference.
I personally like, I forgot what it was, but I had the fox girl. That was mine. Kitsune. I had a Kitsune character that I got for my birthday from the Pathfinder Society.
Nice.
Kitsune are awesome. I love Kitsune. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I love Kitsune also. But no, I was just gonna say, but imagine a homebrew Baldur's Gate, essentially. That's to me what Ashes and Baldur's Gate combined would look like, a homebrew Baldur's Gate. But But Asthea, hello, by the way, welcome in. We've been flooded with MMOs and MMORPGs like crazy, but they are all lackluster. I can see a great deal of mistrust among players nowadays. It's a real shame. It is. It honestly is. I think, yeah. But yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing, especially with the number of Kickstarters that have happened, right? And failed Kickstarters that have happened, and people that never got their money back because of something that completely crashed and burned halfway through development, or even partially into development, not even halfway. So I get where some of the standoffish attitude comes from looking at Ashes. I do understand it. But I think with each development cycle that we've seen, I get the feeling that Steven's in it for the long run. Even if Ashes were to flop, I still get the feeling that Steven would be like, no, we're building this until it's done. We're building this because I want this game. But yep. I wanted to ask, since we last chatted, because we chatted at the beginning, February of 2021, and since then we've had an Alpha 1 and a lot of updates. So what has been your favorite update since then? And don't include Alpha 1 because I have a different question for that one.
Okay. I'll be honest, the recent Cleric update has probably been my favorite like big update so far in terms of content. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with that. That's been my favorite. Excited to play lately. A healer again. I haven't played a healer since Wrath of the Lich King was the last time I mained a healer like full time. Nice. Yeah, that was a while back, but that was super. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I went on a tangent last stream about how much I liked Cleric update, so I'm not gonna do that this stream. But if you want to know how much I was gushing over it with Sticano, you can see our video that's up on our YouTube page. But I'll withhold my excitement too much from it.
At least until you play it yourself, and then the gushing will happen renewed, of course.
Yeah.
So did you take? Yeah, no, sorry. I don't think you put your input in.
Oh no, I did not. I was gonna say basically the same thing. Like I agree, the Cleric is just overall the Cleric video has been my favorite here recently. Yeah, the Freeholds one we obviously had our negative opinions about, but for the most part, I liked all the info that was coming out of that. Yeah. But it's still, I think
there was just
in general,
the big like standout-ish things, I think.
Yeah,
The Freeholds was always going to be a controversial topic, and I think Intrepid knew that before they even had the live stream, that it was going to be, okay, there were going to be lots of people with very strong opinions about this, and it's going to get a little bit crazy, and to be fair, it did, especially on the forums. There was quite some heated debate on the forums about it.
Okay.
Opinions flying back and forth. It's. I don't want to get too much into it. It was. Honestly, at this point, we just got to see how it plays out in testing, and that's why we have testing phases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, as Vertec was kind of getting at, I think that was our first truly kind of negative viewpoint on anything with Ashes of Creation. It just, with the stance that we were trying to make, it was not favorable. But the idea behind freeholds and how they function in general, not like removing from it the availability, but the way that they function sounds interesting. I'm curious to see how that works. It was the availability we took issue with.
Yes.
Not necessarily the freeholds, but the apartments.
Yeah.
The
lot
freeholds.
Of people have similar opinions.
Okay.
Yeah, the freeholds for sure still had an iffy idea on that, because it was always said, everybody, but then the apartments, like, at least as long as there's some housing, because why would people move from Vera to live on the streets?
Yeah.
Or move from Sanctus to Vera, I mean.
Yeah.
And on a more gameplay standpoint, I don't know if you guys or anyone in the chat plays Final Fantasy 14.
Yes.
But the housing situation there is very nightmarish, where you're lucky if you are a single player and you manage to get any kind of house.
Yeah.
Like, they go for so much money if they ever go at all.
Right.
And it's just, you've got this huge section of the game which is really good. Like, I love the housing system in Final Fantasy XIV, and the majority of players, unless you're in a guild that has a house, you don't have access to any of that, and it's a real shame.
Yeah, I feel that. Did you take part in Alpha 1?
I did. Yes. Okay. That was a fun time.
That was good. That was my follow-up question. Did you enjoy Alpha 1?
Yes. Of course. Like, there were issues with it, as we knew there would be. But overall, it was a very positive experience. And yeah, it was. There was some good times. I died a lot. I got player debt at level 4. XP debt at level 4 because I drank a poison. Oh, yes.
And I didn't know that I drank a poison. I assumed that a player killed me because that was the whole, like, hey, please don't PvP, but people were still PvPing. So I decided, hey, there was no way that I died from poison because there was nothing that told me I died from poison. I must have died from another player. I went in, I drank the poison again, I died again.
Yeah.
Then it hit me. Oh.
I remember that quest. I remember that. Yeah.
So, lesson learned. I made a brand new character because I could not get rid of the XP debt.
Nope. Yeah, I think we quested around for like 40 minutes and the experience bar didn't even move.
Yep. So.
Yeah, the EXP debt was a little bit overtuned.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say a little bit.
But it was fun. It's memorable, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I just remember the big standout moment, I think, for me was I was just running around, and I happened to come across Z, one of the other moderators.
Hello.
And Z was on her character, and she was killing a mob, and I thought to myself, oh, I'll help. Because that's typically what you do in an MMO. You help them kill the monster. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize that whoever gets the last hit gets all the XP and all the loot.
Oh,
so
no.
I inadvertently got the last hit, and Z went absolutely mental at me.
Oh,
and
no.
just turned around and killed me straight off the bat. It's like, yeah, you deserve that. It's like, okay, fine. I deserve that.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Z. I'm sorry. Oh, goodness.
Just in general, Z was like the Terminator through all the Ashes playtesting of all types.
Oh my gosh. Yes, she was. So Chrism asks, is this game like Camelot Unchained?
I've never played it, so I don't know. I'm sorry.
I was hoping somebody else has, because I'm like, I have not played that.
I'm gonna be honest, I kind of glanced over Camelot Unchained and I wasn't terribly interested, so I never kept up with any info on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I haven't played it either. It was in beta over forever ago. It never came out. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I've never played it. I've heard of it in like rumors and like other people talking about it, but that's as far as my knowledge goes.
Yeah, that might be another reason it never popped back up on my radar, because it was on there for a minute and I wasn't terribly interested, so I just didn't pay attention.
I will say it is one of the things that so like Ashes is kind of more so based, I believe, on Lineage, right? And then Arcade.
Yeah.
So it's more like those things. It's inspired by, not really based off of, but inspired by those. And honestly, if there's like a favorite function from any MMORPG that you have, they often have these feedback forum requests, which I'm going to get into later. I think the newest one is on RNG. And they always welcome in your questions. We don't currently have an ETA for release. They refuse to list that out, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because before, when they've tried to hit a deadline, unforeseen has happened within the next 40 years. Absolutely unforeseen things have happened where they needed to push it back. So right now, all we know in terms of timeline is at the end of this year, beginning of next year. Hey, Anduin, welcome in. At the end of this year, beginning of next year, they're having internal testing for Alpha 2. And on that topic, what are you hoping to see in Alpha 2? What are you looking forward to the most? Anticipation.
Just to see the classes fleshed out more than
Absolutely.
they were. Because like Alpha 1 was great, but it was very bare bones.
Yeah.
And we knew that going forward. Also the crafting system. If they managed to put more of the crafting system in, because again, that in Alpha 1, it was very bare bones placeholder, which we knew it would be. Right? Yeah. That's kind of the main thing. And maybe the Bard. Can we get the Bard?
Yeah.
I want to see the Bard. Please.
Man,
sorry. Give me the Bard.
Such a shopping list of wishes and wants to see immediately in Alpha 2. Right? We know that it's basically all going to be in there by the end, but
yeah,
everybody really wants to see certain things at the beginning, though. Like, this has to be there at the beginning so I can test all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Vertek? Your most anticipated Alpha 2 feature?
I would say the secondary archetypes. Because I mean, I really want to see all my different tanks. I really want to be able to test them all out. I want to make sure that when it goes live, that there's not a single bug left in it, because I've tested it all. I've found them all, reported them all, and they all got fixed. And the tank will be, if nothing, at least the only class that has no bugs left in it. And then they'll be just catching everybody else up.
The tank will be perfect.
Yeah.
All the other classes, we don't
perfect.
care about. Just the tank will be perfect.
Chrism, yes. I will say we do have access to Alpha 2. We will be streaming Alpha 2 when it is not under NDA, whenever that is. Anduin's guess is for August of next year, which I think is a relatively reasonable one. And feel free to check in from time to time. We tend to cover updates, but primarily Vertek and we cover community news and community people. So just wanted to put that out there. But thank you for popping in and thank you for asking. We're happy to answer any of your questions. Anduin wants to see how the barony system works for guilds, by the way.
Really curious about that too.
Yeah. Of course, you all know I want cleric and alchemy, so.
Cleric and alchemy.
Yep. Cleric and alchemy.
Can we talk about the cleric a little? I know you said you didn't want to rant about the cleric too much.
We can. There's actually a development feedback that I want to go into, so that works out well.
Cool. So
Professor Priest over here.
So I went back and rewatched the latest development update with the cleric showcase.
Yes. And
it struck me because I love what they've shown us so far, but there was something nagging at me, and it's like there's something missing here. And I finally tweaked what it is, and it's the lack of support. It's all healing and damage. And it what about debuffs, CC cancelling, these kinds of things?
That's a great question.
Nothing in the list, and I've actually got the list of abilities from the wiki up on my other screen, and there's nothing about getting rid of debuffs or cancelling CC or providing any kind of protections on that front for your teammates, which strikes me as odd.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to end up kind of fleshing that out and adding more stuff. And they just wanted to, because I think they said that they are, with all of the classes, and this is paraphrasing, but it should be fairly accurate to what he said. They're going to be focusing on the classes or the archetypes core role, filling that out, and then they're going to be adding all the extra stuff.
Yeah,
It's something along the lines.
That makes sense. I will say that I'm interested in seeing what else is available, because they did stress that, you know, you could choose which build you want to go, more heals or more damage.
Yes.
I also am interested in seeing how the secondary archetype affects those. Because perhaps a second, like maybe Bard, like, I don't know, Cleric Bard might have some debuffs thrown in with the heals or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm interested in seeing how that goes, though. Anduin's talking about the naval system and hoping that it's going to be just as immersive as the Sea of Thieves with the ocean content. And Asthea says, I think they'll flesh it out, but I can see them introducing it as later content after release. Possibly, yeah, I could see that. The most important thing, in my opinion, is that they managed to get the class balance right. Yeah, I agree. I'm really looking forward to how they'll manage that. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of classes, 64 combination of classes, with 8 primary archetypes, right? So I think that's an interesting thing to see get developed, and we've not really even seen the first 8. So that shows how much time and effort goes into developing a lot of these. That being said, I would like to give an overview on our topics for today. We're going to be talking about some development and feedback, as well as some quality of life items that the community would like to see, and wrap up kind of with some random topics from the community.
Topics.
Yes, this is where I kind of throw other things that sounded interesting in there. I'm just like, I don't know, it doesn't have a place. It's random. Here you go.
Fair enough.
So going into the development and feedback, so on that same cleric vein, from Lord Pax, he mentioned something about missing interrupts, or potentially needing an interrupt for the cleric update. He says, the one thing that I am hoping to see in order to increase the skill ceiling are interrupts. Guild Wars 1 did it best, but WoW and others have done it too. Skills where you interrupt the other's spell casting. It makes the cleric's archetype special skill that much more important and strategic. No game has ever replicated memers from Guild Wars 1, nor do I expect to ever see them again. However, some of the uniqueness with interrupts, especially in a universal mana pool, is such an exciting opportunity for Ashes of Creation. And he goes on to talk about the Mesmer class and a few other things. I listed the forum post there for your perusal. You do not need to be logged in to see it. You do need to be logged in to comment on it. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so interrupts obviously are a thing, and I think definitely with the cleric having a lot of channeled abilities, it makes sense to put some kind of spell interrupt, whether that be, I assume that any kind of hard CC like a stun will interrupt any channeling. That's usually the case. But in terms of like skill interrupts, the thread mentions Guild Wars 1 and the Mesmer specifically. That's interesting. I don't know, have you, anyone in the chat or you guys have played Guild Wars 1 at all?
I've
played back in the day.
The newer Guild Wars. That's all I've played.
Okay, so Guild Wars.
Wizzy!
Yeah.
Thank you. 23. Wow, almost 2 years.
Thank you, Wizzy.
Cheers.
Oh my goodness. Wizzy's still about.
We're only kind of fancy.
Yes.
Teenagers. Yeah, so anyway, Guild Wars 1. The thing about Guild Wars 1 is that it had a huge number of abilities that you could choose from, but you could only take 8 into battle at any one time. So you were very limited. So, and the interrupt spells that are mentioned, they typically have very long cooldowns. So if you, obviously you could take 3 or 4 different interrupt abilities on the same character if you wanted to, but then if you were to do that, then your character would literally be an interrupter character. And this was a very common thing, particularly in PvP, where a Mesmer would take a whole bunch of different interrupt spells and like shutdown spells, and their job their sole job. It wasn't to deal damage. It was to shut down the enemy healers. And literally, you just stay on top of them and you interrupt as many abilities as you can. You stop them from doing anything. It was a really fun gameplay for the Mesmer. I used to do it a lot. But that kind of thing only worked in Guild Wars 1, where you could only take 8 abilities in the game. Ashes is not like that. You could have, obviously they said you won't be able to take all of the abilities with you, but you can take far more abilities in Ashes than you can in Guild Wars 1. So they're of very different dynamic, and I'm not quite sure how to balance it.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, Nair, thank you so very much for the reset. I appreciate
Yes,
that.
thank you so much.
And Galwood, you made a really interesting point on the deliverance. I just want to talk about that for a second. Is deliverance does heal when interrupted. That happened to Steven in the live stream when a Minotaur charged him. Bucky still got the heal.
Right, I didn't notice that. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder if that'll stay. I wonder if it'll stay like that.
But
and also
they
makes me wonder if the other charge spells are like that. Like if you get interrupted halfway through a charge, if it just insta-cast whatever it is.
I assume so. That kind of thing is usually like a universal trait.
Also, they did have like some of the dev cheats on, which I know that a few of the community are like, ugh. But you know, when just trying to show, it was the last pack. Okay, not sure if it's off topic, but do any of you know how to plan and implement damage or heal? How they plan to implement damage heal? So what I mean is if they'll make burst damage healing possible via cooldowns, or if it's going to be more like steady linear damage or heal. That's a good question.
What we've seen, a mix of both.
Yeah, because the burst healing at least would be possible. They have that one modifier spell. I forget what it was, but it would instantly cast whatever you're in the middle of casting.
Yep. You've got the secondary, the yellow bar on the gameplay, which is divine power, and then that builds up as you're healing and dealing damage. And then you can use the spell Divine Infusion to use up that bar to instantly cast any channeled ability and basically give it full strength. So that's how that works.
That's fair.
And it looked like he'd be able to do that a couple times too. After casting for a bit and doing damage and healing for just, a minute or two, he was able to use that on a couple of different spells in a row. At least right now, anyway.
Yeah. For me, I think I'll get a better idea once I get in, because, again, the thing that I was going to kind of hint towards is as much as some of the community is not all that favorable or appreciative of the dev cheats, I know it helps them show off stuff, but it also makes it a little harder to understand exactly our reality as a player. So it's one of those, like, I'm not sure if that was a dev thing or if that's the actual thing.
But then again, you have to think that, like, even if they didn't use the dev cheats, like, the stuff that we see, like, things like cooldowns, mana costs, healing numbers, those are all going to change anyway. So that kind of balancing typically doesn't happen until you're into beta testing, which we are a long ways off anyway. So, like, I don't see the difference between using dev cheats and having completely whacked out numbers that they just have in as placeholders. Like,
that's absolutely fair. That's a good point.
Yeah.
This is why we have the Wandering Mist.
Goodness.
Had it there. I'm sorry.
I've been following this game for far too long. I've had these discussions many, many times.
You know what? Anduin, you keep that in mind. We're going to talk about that later. It's been so long since I've been graced with Wandering Mist Ashes. Hot take. Proof of the stream. Thank you, Wizzy. We are grateful to have a Wandering Mist on our podcast at all, given EU timing. But thank you.
Yes. That's much appreciated.
So, Vertec, did you give your thoughts on the interrupts? I just want to make sure that was covered before I go to the next.
I like the idea of interrupts mattering more than just an interrupt. Doing something else interesting and unique, like the Mesmer example specifically, was really neat. With the one that he mentioned, what was it? Mind Rack. Mm-hmm. There being like a skill there that when the enemy hits 0 mana, they take X damage. So then they had other skills that were strictly just to make them lose mana, interrupt the target spell cast, and causing them to lose mana because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like
that again, in Guild Wars 1, that was a very common gameplay where you build a character just to mana drain enemy spellcasters, and that was your job. Like, you would make it so that you would drain an enemy spellcaster's mana, and then they just couldn't do anything. You just keep them at 0 mana for the whole fight, and that was your gameplay.
Yeah. See, I'd love it if there was even maybe a summoner that could summon a pet that could do that kind of thing with a specific class combination, and that summon's specific ability was to just drain whatever energy resource that class uses and turn it into its own attack power.
Yeah, I think that's really neat. I feel like that adds that risk versus reward of, like, I can't just sit here and do this long cast and not worry about nobody at all interrupting me. There's still that interruption potential. While I do like that they removed the not being able to walk while casting. You can walk, albeit slower. I like that, but I think that would be a good trade-off. If I can walk while casting, I should at least be able to be interrupted, but it's harder to interrupt a moving target, even if they're moving slowly, because you might anticipate that I'm not going to be moving, and then I'll suddenly start moving while you're in the middle of a charge, perhaps, and I'll just get out of that box. Or maybe you'll anticipate where I'm moving to, and you'll get me where I'm heading. I like it. It does add an interesting factor. So that being said, that could work for either PvE or PvP. And another conversation was, PvP players, tell me why you follow Ashes of Creation.
Oh goodness, this thread.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mainly wanted to pull it up as a conversation point. Hello, Vale Mistward, welcome in. I think it's a good, important piece, because as much as they are looking for it to be PvP oriented, they're also looking forward to being it PvE oriented, and thus PvX balance. Yeah. But what are your thoughts?
So, I mean, we know that Ashes is going to be a very different game to other mainstream MMOs, which are very PvE focused,
right,
and very safe. Like, you can literally run wherever you like in WoW, and you have to try to die in WoW. Like, that's how you have to intentionally put yourself in a really, really bad situation in order to die in WoW. Same with games like Final Fantasy XIV, Elder Scrolls Online, Guild Wars 2, etc. It's not going to be like that in Ashes. Dying is a very real possibility, and that alone, even without the PvP aspect, that alone, just the dying and also the EXP debt that comes with that, that's going to be a big shock to the system for a lot of players. So, yeah, it will be, for those who are purely into PvE and have no interest in PvPing at all, it's going to be quite a shock, and they're going to have to adapt very, very quickly to that. And if they can't adapt, then they'll just quit the game.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. Kind of by the same token, though, the murder hobo lifestyle, those that love open world PvP games because they can just run around and start killing everybody all the time, they're also going to have to adjust to the corruption system and how that works.
Yeah. True.
It's not going to be just a free kill system like World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
as another example, or you can just run around and slay whoever you want as often as you want, hang out in the level 15 town and just kill all the NPCs and laugh at how silly everybody is, and they won't be able to quest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of the things. Anduin, just real quick on the cleric thing, says that he thinks that you should be able to kind of use the skill tree to decide between movement or rooting while casting different spells. And I kind of agree. That would allow for more player agency to choose your own play style kind of thing. Which one would you prefer? I think one could be like a mana saver. If you're giving away your ability to do movement, then you can have more mana consumption. But if you are okay with the normal mana consumption, you're able to also move. I think that might be a cool thing. Let's see. Thea says, I'm skeptical about the PvE part for now. I don't see how the raids they plan on doing are going to be fun, i.e. raids being open world. As for PvP, I think it'll be great. But Caravan, Anduin says, but Caravan sieges, guild wars, flagging are not protected by that. Sorry, I saw you know how to use it. That's okay, Wizzy, you're fine. And then Anduin says, and I believe that is what Steven means by PvP. The open sea will be where most of the PvP folks are, says Vale Mistwarden. No murder hobos. Galwood says, I think the raid bosses will be fun just because you are looking over your shoulder, even if boss mechanics aren't incredibly hard. And I know that not all of them will be open world bosses. I know there'll be some instanced ones. So I'm not really sure. I think it's going to be new. But on that same token, though, if we have to worry about the boss plus other players, they also have to worry about the boss plus other players. Unless somebody decides to just zerg you taking down a boss.
Which could happen.
Yeah,
honestly.
Could absolutely happen.
And that's why it's important to understand that Ashes is designed around player interactions, both collaborative, cooperative, and like going against each other. And that's how it's being built. Yeah. So you can't cherry pick. This is the thing. A lot of people want to like cherry pick this kind of thing. Just take the good and not the bad. But we're humans. We have to take the good and the bad, and we have to deal with both. So if you can't deal with both, then maybe this is not the game for you.
And that's okay. Yeah, it's sad, but it's also okay with the blooming development of games.
Yeah, I've got to admit though, I'm not thrilled with the idea of open world raids. Mainly because there are arenas for PvP, right? So it's a closed off area where just PvP is going to be happening. You don't got to worry about, PvE players getting in the way or, randomness happening. It's an arena where only PvP is happening. And there's going to be some instance stuff and there's going to be some open world stuff-ish. Open world-ish, but it's still, there's going to be just instance PvP. Well, instance PvE people who are strategizing around doing the PvE, I think it's both a good and bad thing that they're basically going to have to hire PvP guilds to watch their back.
Yeah.
And what's going to be funny though is I'm curious to see the cycle that happens there, because there's going to be people hiring the biggest, baddest PvP guilds to watch their back for a raid. And after a while, they're going to get the reputation of, we're not raiding as long as that guild's standing out there. It's just not going to happen. And then after a while, it's okay, well, nobody's challenging this raid anymore. So let's pay less money for the next guild down. Like the next step down the badass rung. And then they're going to keep going down and down until suddenly they do get swarmed. And we should have bought the higher paying or the higher cost guild.
Yeah.
We should have paid them instead.
Mercenaries, I know one of those guilds.
No way.
Anduin says basically get good. Asthea says basically socialize. And yeah, because as the conversation the chat was having was worried about how that would affect, because it feels like a more emphasis on group play and having a guild and making alliances with other guilds for being able to have that mercenary system or protection system. But what about the solo players? Like, how are they going to be able to do it? And so like this game, you can play it solo, but I think Steven's intent is for it to be a social game because, other players. But, yeah.
And I stand by that. Like, honestly, if I want to have a solo experience, I will play a single player RPG. Flat out. Like, I've got plenty. Like, I've been playing through Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on the Switch lately. Fantastic single player RPG, amazing. If I don't want to interact with any other human players, I just play that.
Yeah.
The only part about that does stink, because I pretty much agree with you as well. But at least looking at the balance side of that is that there's not really going to be a night where you can just log on to do some kind of semi-mindless progression. Just because you want to do something in game, but you don't really feel like concentrating on it, or like grouping with a bunch of people and getting in voice chat and making it a big to-do.
Mm-hmm.
So all you can really do is sit, in town, not even on your freehold, and craft. Just sit in a town and craft.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Not necessarily. You can still go out in the world. It'll be dangerous, but you can still do it. There's nothing physically stopping you as a solo player from going out into the world, but you have to accept the consequences of that play style. Yeah, I might well be doing that myself. I consider myself a lone wolf quite a lot of the time. Like, I will group with people, but I also like to go off on my own a little bit, and I will do that. But
yeah, I should also, I guess, give the disclaimer of my statement was based on the descriptions and the way everything is sounding like it's going. Is things are going to be highly tuned for groups and multiple people, and you might be able to do like a go kill X amount of wolves on your own, and just accept the fact that if you get ganked by another, someone who's going corrupted on purpose just to get your supplies or whatever, that's going to happen. But you won't be able to really do any like serious questing, like advance your main story. I don't think you'll be able to really do much of that from the sound of it.
Anduin says at DJ Vertec, I think you'll be able to do random questing and gathering. That is part of the politics. Your guild tag matters. If your guild ganks regularly, and you will probably get targeted yourself. If your guild protects others, you will probably be safe in most places. Not to mention, guilds will make NAPs with each other and alliances. And Wizzy says, don't get me wrong, I've always played MMORPGs, prefer to that. I feel like I haven't had a real socialization in an MMO since UO. And she says, don't get me wrong, I've always played MMOs with friends, but the level of socialization was much deeper in UO than WoW, WildStar, Final Fantasy XIV, and New World. Asthea responds saying, not sure about Final Fantasy XIV, to be honest. I felt really isolated compared to other isolated compared to other MMOs. In Rift, there were a lot of tools available for people to socialize, and it worked so good. I hope AOC managed to pull that off as well, because the game requires people to socialize. Then the game should also offer the tools to do that. And I agree, because Asthea was also saying that I think she hopes to see a global chat in Ashes, like the world global chat, so that you can respond to other people. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Asthea. I think, for example, there are friendly guilds out there like Dune, right, that a lot of people might seek out just to interact with their members. Okay. Sorry. That might seek out to interact with their members just because of their tag, whereas more militant groups will be avoided or hunted. Oh, that's fair. I kind of looked at your profile, and it was a little hard to tell which direction, but it sounded like a feminine name, so I apologize for that entirely.
Okay, if I may...
Yes.
So... one thing that we need to remember about this whole discussion is that unlike in a lot of games these days, reputation will matter in Ashes. Yeah, there's no fast travel and you can't transfer servers, which means that people are going to know you and you will gain a reputation. So let's say, for example, that I am a well-respected member of the node community, and I decide to go and do a little bit of questing on my own. Let's say one day I think, no, I just want to do some gathering or questing on my own. So I'm going out in the world and doing it by myself. And let's say that a group of people then ganks me. Mm-hmm. Well, I have a very good reputation, which means that people like me and they then want to get revenge for me. And suddenly this group of people who attacked me because I was on my own suddenly find themselves their reputation goes down, and then they get attacked on sight by everybody else in the node. Not saying that would happen, but that is a situation that could happen. So reputation will matter. And I think that will help in alleviating some of the, oh my goodness, you can't go anywhere on your own type of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, a lot of this is going to be, as the disclaimer always goes out there, a lot of this is also going to be kind of balanced and played around with around time. Because I mean, even Steven said that, corruption system, etc. But the goal isn't to completely shut down random killing of people out in the world, but also not to create murder hobos. So you're going to be adjusting everything in the world to kind of get it to how they want it to be.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit towards role-playing and community interaction. And just as a heads up, there's in about I want to say 3 minutes, there's going to be a 3-minute ad. Just FYI, we roll these once an hour so that we have pre-roll off for the entire hour. We only get hit with 1 during our podcast usually. If we get hit with 2, we are talking way too much. Yeah, so just as a heads up, we apologize. We don't like them, but Twitch overlords say we have to have them. And we'd rather it happen once rather than every time somebody loads into a channel. So, that being said, I'm heading into the conversation of, Vertex. I'm heading into the conversation of Umor, who says, I don't know if this has already been said, but my contribution on the discussion of role-playing ideas is that the players create quests for other players in the taverns, which we have definitely talked about at least once or twice on this channel. For example, bring 50 wood or that dungeon's helmet, and this is the reward that I'll give you. And we talked about the ways in which that could be potentially abused by other players, and so on and so forth. But I do like that as an interaction. I feel like that adds a little bit to the PvE interaction. But what are your thoughts?
I'm all for it, and yeah, okay. I'm gonna say that if there isn't the facility to do this built into the game, like at Taverns, then players will find ways of doing it outside the game. So this is one of the things where it's probably in Intrepid's best interest to try and include it as an in-game feature, because players will just do it regardless.
Yeah. At least then it might be moderated.
Well, that's the thing, right? You have more control over the things that are actually built into the game. Plus, you can make it more immersive in that aspect, rather than having like a Discord or a discussion forum where people post job requests like that, which happens in other games.
Right.
And let's be honest, if people have a mostly good or mostly acceptable thing happening in game, even if it isn't perfect, they're probably not going to seek an outside tool for the most part. There are a lot of people who will seek that perfect tool outside the game, but I think for the most part, people will say, "Hey, I can already do this in game. It's basically the same. I'll just not use this other thing outside the game."
Yeah. In terms of roleplay conversation, Anduin says, my guild has guard members that actually will be PvPers. Anastasia says, oh, that's cool. Anduin says, yeah, it makes people have specific jobs. Also, I'm a role player, so plenty of stories to be built from it. And I think absolutely. Oh gosh, Asaya, no, we're not going down that rabbit hole.
I refuse.
Colwood says market by orders probably. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I see you over there. Laughing. Trying to cause chaos upon this show. How rude. It's probably the first thing that'll pop up though. Yeah, I see that.
Anduin, that actually sounds pretty fantastic. Like, that would just make an impression all around if like a guild leader or higher officer were to actually have like an honor guard walking around with them at all times. Mm-hmm. Just strolling through town with a literal honor guard all uniformed out.
Yeah.
If nothing else, that would make a name for the guild.
I'm gonna poke fun at Asthea. I'm not sure if Asthea can see this. I do see that they have Prime Gaming, so I don't think that they can see our specific content. But I just like the poke the bear and then hides behind an ad idea.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to poke the bear.
Yeah.
Dangerous thing to do.
Right? He was trying to join me at Agent Chaos. Welcome, friend. But yeah. So since I'll take advantage of this, do you want to go down the cosmetic route or do you want to go down the spell effects route?
Choose your adventure.
Oh goodness. Okay, let's go spell effects.
Okay. We'll go spell effects.
Cosmetics are a rabbit hole that I don't particularly want to get into right this second. That's a deep dark hole, and oof, yes,
it is. Oh, we gotta hydrate too.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do it with my VTuber so they see you. There you go.
Yeah, same.
Hey, drink up, guys. Hydrate with preferably something that isn't a monster drink.
Yeah, I got a big tall, like
Blasphemy.
20-ounce thing of water right before the stream.
Hey, there we go.
But I literally told Wondering Mist before the stream because he's like, I have a whole thing of energy drinks right here, so I can always grab one. I was like, you sound like me. That's a me thing to do. Wondering Mist, will you ever stream again?
Oh my goodness. Now there's a question. Potentially during Alpha 2, I might. I don't know. I tried the whole streaming thing and it didn't click with me. I'll be honest, I'm not a good content creator. Just flat out.
No.
I've tried it. It didn't work really for me. So
no. I think Asaya can hear us because Asaya says cosmetics are always the end game content though, and we weren't talking about it in the chat, so Asaya can totally hear us. Noted. Yep, Asaya hears us. You tried. I enjoyed you. Aw.
Oh, thanks, Wizzy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a lot more difficult than people think, especially when it comes to creating. I personally think, especially when it comes to creating YouTube videos, like the 5-minute summaries or the 15-minute guides and things like that. I think those are more challenging than doing a podcast, in my own humble opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I did enjoy doing. I did a couple of, call it, music videos, as it were. I don't know if you ever saw them, where I took like one of the. Yeah, I did like a development trailer, that's what I called it, where I basically took a bunch of the early clips from various gameplay live streams and put them together with some music. That was quite fun. But that's a thing that took me a couple of months to put together. And it's not really like sustainable content.
Yeah.
for me. So yeah, it's
And
something that I might do at some point, but I would never consider myself a content creator.
That's fair. And just for your reference, while you were in your ad, we were talking about Wandering Mist streaming or making content again. So,
Yeah, the summary of what I said there, Anduin, just in the one sentence summary is I think it's really cool if the guild leaders and officers and whatnot had an honor guard around them at all times. It would definitely make an impression going through town.
Yeah.
Every time they do.
You were. I'm sorry, Anduin. So we decided during the 3-minute ad, because we do take note, like we're alerted as to when a ad is about to happen. So we do try to be mindful of that. But the next thing that we chose to do, we discussed it and talked about spell effects and ashes. And this is actually from Sneckers. And Sneckers says, it's been noticeable for a few shows now that the spell effects don't match the environment. At first I thought it was a question of how high the quality of the environment is, but in retrospect I see that it was many shortcomings, such as foliage. So why do some effects seem to not match? I found the answer to this in Narc's recently released video on mage skills, and begins to kind of expand on it, and I've linked the thread there for you. But this does remind me because when we did have Sneckers on, we did talk about the mage skill and how the one without the bubble felt a bit more natural for the environment than the one with the bubble. It just seemed a little out of place for it. And yeah, go ahead.
I can answer this fairly reliably because it has been brought up in the past. Basically, the general pipeline of how things work and how things are developed is that the team puts together a bunch of what we might call generic spell effect assets, which they just throw in just to like put something with the spell so that it gives a little bit more visual feedback during testing and during live showcases. But those spell effects that they put in aren't fully representative of what they will be later on, because they're not the handcrafted spell effects and animations that will be in the finished game, because those take a lot of time to do if you're handcrafting them and not just buying them from the Unreal Engine asset store, right?
Right.
So that's why some of the spell effects look kind of weird. And I think if anyone in the chat remembers, or you guys remember, back in Alpha 1, the tank abilities, like the spell effects on the tank's abilities, were all very earth based and like earth and fire based, which didn't really fit. And that was one of the reasons why it was like that was all they had to work with, and they hadn't gotten the proper handcrafted assets that they would use for the animations just yet.
That makes sense. I could like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, developing stuff takes time. I know art takes a good while.
It does.
Agreed. And you know, that is a good point, because you know, Steven did say that is like the last step. All right, Anduin, thank you so much. Anduin.
Thanks for stopping by and chatting.
Absolutely, yeah. Hope your laundry goes well.
Don't let it win.
But yeah, exactly. But if for me, I mean, I can agree with both sides. I understand both sides. I did go into video game design art initially for my degree. I swapped over to software engineering instead. That's how I got into it. And so like, I know that assets take a bit, especially artsy assets. Those are the hardest. And not to mention with the ray tracing capabilities, that's just a whole other area. So yeah. we are at our hour mark, so I'm gonna just kind of pick one of these. The RNG thing. I think that one. Did we talk about that already?
Nope, we didn't.
This was released on the 20. No, this is in May. Okay, this must have been while we were moving, and I just didn't see it. Did we talk about RNG love before?
We did, yeah. Yeah, we did.
Okay.
I was about to say another one. Another RNG.
No,
My goodness.
No, I saw, I guess people still are responding to it. The most recent one was in July, the 27th. There is a fan focus if you want to put that on.
Yeah, I'll start pulling that up.
I'll just kind of verbally talk about these few, maybe have like a quick round on it, like a brief opinion on it. So quick, fast shoot off. Pyre and Vec models. Do they look too close to each other to you, or do they have enough diversity to you? Because a few people here in this thread think that they look too closely, and a few others think that they're diverse enough. So, what are your thoughts?
I think they look fine. Far better than, again, how they looked in Alpha 1, where it was very hard to tell the difference between the humans and the elves and the dwarves. So, yeah, definitely better than they were. And I'm sure, again, Intrepid will keep reiterating on the models as they go forwards to make them more diverse. I hope they do. Because there's nothing worse than having, again, where you've got the humans, then you got the pointy-eared humans, then you got the short humans, and then you got the slightly bigger, bulkier humans. And that's it. So,
right.
Oh,
Right.
So
yeah. There needs to be diversity.
Maybe I just missed something, but I don't think that the Pyre and Vec look anything alike, except for they have 2 legs and 2 arms and a head.
And then I hear...
that's pretty big similarities there.
I mean, one is tall and snooty, and I guess not as snooty as the Empyrean elves, but you know, still like nature-y themed, and then the Vec are like short and stooped and all like, I'm gonna live in rags because who cares about that? I got stars to look at.
I'm imagining there's going to be a height difference between the Vec and the Pyre, which is very difficult to gauge when you're just looking at the art that they're posting in this thread.
Yeah, instead of right next to each other, because they've already said Vec are going to be one of the shorter classes. I mean, outside of the dwarf races, I think it's the shortest.
Yeah.
And then obviously an elf. There's probably going to be like the Renkai are going to be the biggest, I think.
Yeah.
In theory, they might be shorter than like the Empyrean, and then there's going to be the 2 elves, and then some various humans.
I just can't get over the first reply to that particular thread. Yes.
Lineker?
Yep. Always
Lineker
good for a laugh. Yes. And then the second one as well. Don't even get me started on Sprite and 7-Up.
And get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
But yeah, no, I personally don't see a problem. I was just curious. It's something the community is talking about, so I figured it'd be a funny little thing to pop up.
Yeah, because they also said when they released those models for the Vec, they even said like these aren't to like actual stature. These are like stood up straight T-pose type. Yeah. Without the actual T shape. They're going to have a stoop and a posture that's going to be very identifying.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, and you know, I didn't even read Lineker's response. Yeah, basically the same thing I did. Yep.
Yep. I wondered if you read it word for word.
I missed the torso part.
By the way, Vertec, check your DM, please. All right, so for the next quick question and answer, just to quickly answer these, what are your thoughts about the proximity chats? Are people fear-mongering too much about it?
As long as there's an option to turn it off, that's what I'll be doing. I have no interest in having proximity voice chat enabled. If I want to speak to somebody, I will do a call with them, usually over Discord. So yeah, doesn't matter to me as long as I can turn it off.
Yeah. I think as a streamer, it's a worry. I'm not fear-mongering in general. I could care less. I've experienced it with games like VR chat and other things. A couple of the communities that I was in had like in VR chat, like movie nights and like game nights where everybody just kind of got together. That has proximity chat. That being said, there's been total games where like some guy is just like totally like rude and doesn't care what you're doing or saying. And if you're like, dude, I am on stream, can you not? Like, some people don't respect that. They don't really care. So having the ability as a streamer to not worry about it is ideal. But as Veil Mistwarden said, the RP folks would love it as well. And I think that'd be great. It'd be like LARPing, but in game. Because you don't have to type everything. Do you bite your thumb at Misa? But yeah. Vertec, what is your thought on the voice chat proximity?
I think that at least people who own a business should have a little bit more control over that in their specific area, especially if, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the statement was something along the lines of there'll be voice chat integration specifically around social centers like taverns, etc. So it quite literally just opens it up for someone to come in and start screaming and yelling and doing crazy stuff in there. And then you have to mute them, and that completely ruins it for anybody who is trying to stream, because you literally can't have voice chat on in a random environment. Like, you can't. That's a good way to get your channel absolutely burned to the ground with one stream because you weren't quick enough with a mute.
Yep.
So streamers, like, we're never going to be able to roleplay inside that tavern or like hang out with people and chat. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Not while live.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Specifically when people want to talk with us, we won't be able to.
Yeah.
Because we can't at least take an action of our own to be like, hey, we're going to ban this person to never come in there again. I mean, yeah, you can mute people.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's a thing. But how cool would it be if one little character came in, started saying terrible stuff, and you can mute by account based on that character coming in. You don't need to know who all the characters are. You mute that account or kick that account out of your tavern.
Yeah.
And that would take care of the problem for a really long time until they decide to pay for the game on another account just to come in and mess with your stream. Which, who's going to do that?
Right.
You'd be surprised.
Hey, let them waste their money and I'll keep banning them. But at least, because that's one thing with like on Twitch specifically, that's one thing with the guest stars where you can invite somebody onto your stream and they just connect through their Twitch account. As long as, if they start doing and saying terrible things, as long as you immediately get them out of there, you have zero impact on your channel, as long as you took the effort after they started being a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, that's been an actual statement by them. So if they can see the same thing in a game, like somebody started saying something terrible and you booted them real quick with, 2 mouse clicks or whatever it takes to mute somebody, would be neat, but they can come back with another account. But if you could mute, even with your mute, just automatically mute their entire account, then people would also not be able to hide behind little jerky like level 5s that they can level up to get out to remote places just to mess with people in voice chat areas. Because then the rest of their account's going to be muted and everyone's going to know that John, the mayor of whatever node, is actually a little jerky boy that runs around and screams terrible things in people's voice chats. Because everybody has him muted in that one area, and that's the only person they've really muted because he's been the only one that's causing troubles lately.
Yeah. I could see that. All right. Well, on that note, we have the photo that I have had Vertec go ahead and get ready to put up. This is from the Ashes Creation fan focus. Wizzy says, if I know someone is streaming, I attempt to behave, but my filters tend to fall off. I'm not the person you put on speakerphone. But yeah, even one troll is enough to destroy the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Bear with me, I'm still getting this done. I wasn't able to get it adjusted while also chatting.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right, and I just got 2 of them primed up. Which one are we looking at?
I don't know that there's 2. I just sent you one.
Yeah,
There's only one.
Okay. I will go check.
That I know of.
There's also the last week, so I don't think we covered it last week.
Oh, I didn't even put that in here, so I didn't even look at that one.
Okay, so one from Pirata SS.
Yeah. And this is what their future Tolnar rogue will look like. And then they asked, would you run for your life if you saw this character in game? And for me, if the rogue is targeting me, yes, I would.
Indeed.
But
Ooh.
right? That looks pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh,
He's dropping gold though. Not a very good rogue. He's dropping his gold.
Yeah, that's the one thing you don't do. You steal it all just to drop it away.
While this is up there, I just want to go ahead and get into our podcast news and updates. You guys can feel free to chat about it. That's your gold? Oh no, he took our gold.
That's fine. I'll follow him. He's leaving a breadcrumb trail, so I'll just pick up the gold as he goes. No worries.
I'll at least get like 10% of my gold back. It's better than 0.
Bonus.
So, a heads up, just going forward. So Monday, we will not have a live stream this coming Monday, but the following Monday we will. And the reason for that being is I am moving our D&D that is usually on Sunday, our parlor games, to Monday night instead from 8 to 10 p.m., the same slot that I was using. I think a little bit later. And instead, I will be doing the 2 to 4 p.m. on Sundays for the hangout. So it'd be a Sunday cozy day instead of a Monday cozy day kind of thing. And Vertec is staying on Friday. Or sorry, Saturday. We're staying on Friday. Vertec's staying on Saturday. Some of my D&D players could not make it on Sundays anymore, and we decided Monday was the best option. However, I was requested by 2 people to push back instead of just going straight into this Monday. One of them is not going to be home. The other needs to determine if they can join us or not. So just a heads up for that. I wanted to share that. But otherwise, we're still live the same days around the same time, but just what exactly we're doing is just getting shifted around a little bit.
Yeah.
But
just a little adjustment.
That's about it. I guess the other addition to that is thanks to the wonderful patronage of our supporters. We will be, as Vertex said at the beginning, looking into getting new emotes. So I will update you when we find an artist. The hardest part is finding a good artist. The second hardest part is finding a good artist who is timely with their work and doesn't leave us hanging.
And the third part is making sure it also doesn't cost a fortune.
Yes. So I will be... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that we're all about supporting artists and paying them, what art is worth, but some folks out there have a very, 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 very high opinion of their work.
Yes. And I'm not trying to be mean about it.
Yeah, not trying to be mean, but it's when you're literally charging like 5 times the cost of other people.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of all the updates that I have. Oh, that was the other week that we missed.
Yeah, I didn't remember putting this up. Like, I remember seeing it on Twitter, and I remember reading through comments. I think I even commented on there, but I don't remember us actually putting it up because we were just all about chatting last week. Like,
oh
crazy.
My gosh, yes.
Like
too much hype around the cleric.
Just got exactly. Everything but cleric just got thrown to the wind.
Yep. But yeah, I'm gonna look for somebody. If you would like to take over from here.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to just put this in chat. Go for it.
Okay. So yeah, if anybody would like to see a specific person rated, please feel free to shoot us a suggestion.
We do
let
have
us know.
the guide the raid. Stokely.
Mhm. Oh wow!
Done.
Look at that. Boom.
Didn't even have to
Didn't even
think.
get to finish the full sentence.
Nope. Just Stokely.
Yeah,
Who
just
is
Stokely.
playing
Okay.
Baldur's Gate 3, by the way?
Hey. Which, by the way, that's what I'll be playing tomorrow morning at 11 when
And
I pop
I'll be
on for
playing
the
it
coffee
on
quest.
Sunday.
Yeah.
So
I'll be running through with my Vengeance Paladin.
I will be running through with my druid. And Vengeance Paladin, who's going to be joining me.
He's an edgy boy tiefling.
That's fair to say.
Yeah, so would you have anything you'd like to leave for some last comments there? Some final comments for the day there, Wandering Mist?
Just have fun and enjoy the games that you're playing and enjoy the discussions that you're having. Pretty much, yeah. Have fun.
All right. Hey, that's possibly the best message out there.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
As long as you're not hurting anybody, enjoy your life. Do whatever you want to do.
Exactly.
Go do it.
Exactly.
Enjoy it. Live it. Love it. But, Phoebe?
Oh, actually, real quick. Wizzy wants to know what Wandering Mist is going to play in Ashes.
Assuming the bard is something that I agree with, then I will be a bard. If not, then I will probably be a cleric.
Yeah, we can
Nice,
potentially
nice.
live the bard life together, because I also want to try being a bard / tank, to be an off tank, but also buffing everybody and having fun just dancing around and playing music and stuff.
That's assuming that the secondary tank archetypes are able to hold any kind of threat, which we don't
And
know if
that
they will
is an
be able to
entire
yet.
show's worth of conversation there.
It is.
Absolutely.
I
My
know it
final
because we
thoughts.
spent a half a show talking about it before.
Absolutely. Couldn't have been like last stream or anything, right? My final thoughts are going to be not wasted, but happily given to the community. If you haven't, let me do a shout out, I guess. I can shout out a few people. If you haven't checked out Vladis earlier today did a trivia game called Questions of Creation, where he did 30 questions regarding the node system of Ashes. And the first place winner received a $25 either gift card or something, but $25. So I just want to...
If you see this later, know that we were talking about it, and we totally would have been there had we not been preparing for this here.
Yeah. So, yeah. Lattice Gaming.
Yeah, get it. But as always...
The channel you're shouting out does not exist. What?
What?
I'm just gonna try this again. But yeah, that's my takeaway, is you guys are awesome, and this person is also awesome. There we go. Got it.
Got it to work? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna prepare the raid now for Thogly.
Okay.
I'm so
good.
sorry. I'm all over the place. Forgive me.
On our way out, I will say thank you again, everybody, for hanging out with us, chatting with us, and giving us your time. It is non-refundable, so you spending it here means the world to us. It is seriously the best support you can give. We definitely appreciate all the subs today, the resubs, and when people give stuff out and all the bits and stuff people give. But we love seeing you smiling names. Your smiling names on screen. Is that a phrase? I think it is. It is now. Either way, we love having you around, and it's great.
And
did
thank
you have
you,
anything else you wanted to
Wondering, for joining us, especially last minute, and also after so much time. It's been wonderful catching up with you. And for the rest of you, I'm not going to say what exactly, but Wondering will be helping us out immensely going forward. So when the time is right, I will share.
Right. Oh, it's great to be back. Thank you.
Well,
Miss
everybody,
you too, Wizzy.
do take care. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.